High on drugs, the young father breaks free from two sheriff's officers
and then attacking her while she was sentencing him.
The victim's other son appears to try to help his brother, but one officer pulled out a taser gun.
The action clearly takes the judge by surprise.
Courtrooms are typically places of order and justice, but some have erupted into chaos, leaving everyone stunned. You can witness a judge struggling to maintain control as a defendant lashes out, or a family member confronts an accused in a rage. Let's get into the wildest courtroom confrontations that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the law. In the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, Van Terry confronted Michael Madison, the man who murdered his daughter, Sherelda. Madison was accused of killing 3 women in East Cleveland and disposing of their bodies in garbage bags. The courtroom was tense as Terry prepared to speak about the pain of losing his 18-year-old daughter, who disappeared in 2013. Sherelda was last seen returning home from work, and her family, desperate for answers, put up missing posters everywhere. Tragically, their worst fears were confirmed when police discovered her body, along with those of 2 other victims, wrapped in garbage bags.
Other new information to share with you tonight. The Ohio Supreme Court is delaying the death penalty for an East Cleveland serial killer. Michael Madison was arrested for murdering 3 women in 2013. Their bodies were found in July of that same year near an East Cleveland apartment where Madison lived. He's been on death row since 2016.
Madison, a registered sex offender, was arrested and confessed to the killings, though he claimed he couldn't remember the details of Sherelda's murder.
The judge agreed with the jury's recommendation and imposed the death penalty. The convicted murderer was found guilty of killing 3 women.
Terry stood before the judge. He expressed his sorrow, saying, "Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown who has touched our families, taken my child."
By the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings.
Michael Madsen is a convicted serial killer responsible for 3 women's deaths in East Cleveland, Ohio. He was arrested in July 2013 after the bodies of 3 women were found in garbage bags near his apartment. Born in 1977 in Cleveland, Madsen grew up in a troubled household.
Just then, Madison smiled, which was Terry's breaking point. Overcome with grief and anger, he pounced across the courtroom, aiming to reach Madison. Chaos erupted as court officers quickly interfered to control him. Terry was taken out of the courtroom, but his actions resonated with many who understood the depths of his pain. Meanwhile, the judge sentenced Madison to death.
A frantic fight for freedom. This was Daniel Nicholson's daring escape from the dock. High on drugs, the young father breaks free from 2 sheriff's officers before meeting his match, a police prosecutor.
Here comes the next case. In a dramatic incident at an Adelaide courtroom, a prisoner named Daniele Nicholson attempted a bold escape that left everyone stunned. As he stood before the judge, facing serious charges, Nicholson suddenly lunged towards the exit, creating chaos in the packed room. Court staff and security quickly reacted, rushing to subdue him before he could make it out.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No, you can stop.
Magistrate Sue O'Connor not having a bar of his protests.
What's going on about?
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Miss, please, miss.
Please, miss. I'll tell you what please, miss
No.
The father of 4 becoming increasingly agitated before taking a chance.
Nicholson's escape attempt was not just impulsive, it was fueled by the desperation of facing a lengthy prison sentence. He had been accused of severe crimes, and the weight of those charges hung heavily in the air. As he made his move, gasps echoed through the courtroom, and the tension skyrocketed.
Those waiting inside and out, watching on in disbelief.
On your stomach!
officers eventually restraining him.
Grab the cuffs. Bend the knees. Don't do anything silly.
The 35-year-old pleading guilty over the incident in September last year, claiming he just freaked out.
The courtroom, usually a place of order and politeness, became a scene of panic. Security personnel quickly tackled Nicholson to the ground, preventing him from fleeing. The judge, visibly shaken, called for order and praised the security team's swift response. After the dust settled, Nicholson was restrained and brought back to face the judge, who expressed disbelief at his audacity. This incident raised serious questions about courtroom security and the measures to prevent such attempts. Let's get started with number 3. So, on January 3, 2024, Deobra Redden was in a Las Vegas courtroom for his sentencing. He was there because of a previous charge of attempted battery with substantial bodily harm. Judge Mary Kay Holthus was handling his case. Now, Redden's lawyer was trying to get him probation. They said he'd been doing well lately, going to school, but Judge Holthus wasn't buying it. She looked at Redden's record and said, "I think it's time he got a taste of something else." That's when things went wild. Redden just lost it. You can see Redden suddenly leap over the judge's bench. He tackles Judge Holthus, and they both disappear behind the desk. It's like something out of an action movie, but real life. The courtroom erupted into chaos. People were screaming, and court marshals rushed to help. They had to wrestle Redden off the judge. It took several people to get him under control. During the scuffle, Redden even bit one of the marshals on the hand. Judge Holthus got knocked into a wall and hit her head. She was left with some bruises and injuries, but thankfully, nothing too serious.
You've seen the video. It went viral last week, showing Deobra Redden vaulting over the bench of Judge Mary Kay Holthus and then attacking her while she was sentencing him. It took several people to subdue the flying felon, and he's now facing 15 new charges.
After this wild incident, Redden faced a whole new set of charges. He was hit with 7 felony counts, including attempted murder. Yeah, they're not messing around with this one. On January 4th, Redden appeared in court again, this time before a different judge. He was in chains and surrounded by a bunch of officers. No chances were taken this time. The new judge set his bail at $54,000 and ordered a mental health evaluation.
Deobra Redden stood in court in shackles with a mask on his face and orange mitts on his hands. The sentence was handed down by the same judge that Redden attacked last week after trying to convince her that he was turning around his violent past.
As of now, Redden's facing some serious time. The attempted murder charge alone could get him up to 20 years in prison. And just like that, we're done.
During the sentencing for a 3-year-old girl's death, a brawl broke out in a Detroit courtroom when the girl's father attacked Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for killing his daughter, Jamila.
In the Wayne County Circuit Court in Detroit, a shocking scene happened during the sentencing of Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for the tragic death of 3-year-old Jamila Smith. Dwayne Smith, Jamila's father, was there to deliver a victim impact statement, but his grief and anger raged over. Instead of speaking, he yelled out and swung at Thomas, landing a punch right on his head. The courtroom flashed as court security rushed in to separate the two men.
The girl's father attacked Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for killing his daughter, Jamila. Jamila died in September 2014 after her mother, Jasmine Gordon, and her boyfriend, Clifford Thomas, rushed Jamila to the hospital. Authorities say the girl had bruises on her head and chest consistent with abuse.
Back in September 2014, Jamila was taken to the hospital by her mother, Jasmine Gordon, and Thomas when she stopped breathing. They claimed she had fallen and hit her head, but medical experts discovered bruises on her body that indicated abuse.
We're inside the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice in Detroit, Michigan. 25-year-old Jasmine Gordon and her 34-year-old boyfriend, Clifford Thomas, are being sentenced today for the death of Gordon's 3-year-old daughter, Jamila Smith.
It led to a deeper investigation, revealing the scary truth behind her death. Both Thomas and Gordon were ultimately found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. In court, Gordon received a sentence of 14 to 25 years for child abuse and 7 to 15 years for manslaughter. Thomas was sentenced to a minimum of 4.5 years for manslaughter, and additional time for resisting police.
When he's asked to deliver an impact statement, he delivers.
After the fight, Dwayne Smith was escorted out of the courtroom, but faced no charges for his actions. The judge chose not to hold him in contempt, understanding the immense pain he was experiencing.
There was no order in this courtroom as two brothers attacked their mother's killer.
Let's kick off with the next case. Things turned chaotic in a courtroom in Youngstown, Ohio, when two brothers sought their justice. Dale Williams, 62, had already confessed to the brutal crime that shook their family. He had murdered his ex-girlfriend, the boy's mother.
Her family was present at his sentencing in the Youngstown, Ohio courthouse when her two sons tried to get some justice of their own. One of the men appears to lunge at Williams across a table. Court officers tried to stop the attack, but the man was able to grab Williams by the feet and drag him. The victim's other son appears to try to help his brother, but one officer pulled out a taser gun. The brothers appear to give up their fight. Williams was taken out of the courtroom and his sentencing was postponed.
The scene was already heavy as the family gathered for the sentencing, knowing the man who took their mother's life was about to face the legal consequences. But grief and anger boiled over as one of the sons, unable to hold back his emotions, lunged across the table toward Williams. It wasn't just a quick outburst. The brothers clearly couldn't stomach seeing the man who had shattered their lives sit there, awaiting a sentence that didn't feel like enough. Their actions were a desperate and raw response to the pain they were living through. The courtroom, which should have been a place of law and order, suddenly became chaotic. Court officers rushed in to subdue the brothers as emotions continued to flare. Williams, sitting there after his guilty plea to aggravated murder, didn't flinch in the face of the son's fury, but the room buzzed with intensity as the confrontation played out. And that wraps up this case.
Miss Hardwick,
No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become
I don't
disruptive.
care. I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She'll be arrested for contempt 10 days for contempt of court. You go now.
On to the next one. Let's break it down. A routine court hearing turned aggressive in southern Kentucky when a woman attacked the judge.
Miss Hardwick,
No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become
I don't
disruptive.
care. I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She'll be arrested for contempt 10 days for contempt of court. You go now. Days for contempt of court. You go now.
Melissa Hardwick was in Wayne County Circuit Court in Kentucky, facing domestic violence charges filed by her husband, John Anderson. During the hearing, she frequently interrupted and used foul language, which led the judge, Jennifer Upchurch Edwards, to warn her multiple times. The situation escalated when Judge Edwards sentenced Melissa to 10 days in jail for contempt of court due to her disruptive behavior. At this moment, Melissa's anger boiled over. She attempted to jump over the courtroom barrier to physically attack the judge. Court security officers, including Adam Dodson, quickly intervened and restrained her before she could reach the judge. This outburst added more charges to Melissa's record, including terroristic threatening, intimidation, and resisting arrest. Despite being escorted out, she continued to shout and resist. Melissa's original domestic violence charges remained, but her actions in court led to a much harsher punishment. She received a 120-day sentence for contempt of court. Additionally, her husband was granted a protective order against her. With that said, our case ends here.
Left the judge temporarily without words and left Bass Webb.
Here comes the last one on our list. Attempted murder suspect Bass Webb expressed his displeasure with Judge Vanessa Dickinson by spitting on her during a hearing. It all started back in 2009, when Bass Webb was arrested for attempted murder. He was accused of trying to run over his girlfriend, Sabrina Vaughn, with his truck in Bourbon County, Kentucky. But that wasn't the end of Webb's troubles. While in custody, Webb got into even more hot water. In July 2009, he was charged with murder for allegedly killing his ex-girlfriend, Bria Runewit, in Harrison County.
Before this rash action occurred, the judge had some strong words of her own to share with the man accused of attempted murder.
There's no way I'm going to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further set. Set preliminary hearing next week. Charge.
The action clearly takes the judge by surprise. After initially dismissing Webb,
Keep him right here.
the judge makes Webb stand and watch as she wipes the spit from her face.
Now, here's where things get crazy. On November 5, 2009, Webb was in court for a preliminary hearing about the attempted murder charge. Judge Vanessa Dickinson was presiding over the case. Webb must have been in a foul mood because he did something unexpected. He spat right at Judge Dickinson. You can imagine the shock in the courtroom. Were you spitting at a judge? That's a big no-no. The cops quickly grabbed him and hustled him out of there. Judge Dickinson, understandably upset, declared a recess. When court resumed, she had Webb brought back in and charged him with contempt. She gave him a 6-month sentence for the spitting incident to be served on top of whatever other time he might get for his other charges.
Surveillance video from the Bourbon County Jail, which shows a car barreled down on 2 jailers, hitting and nearly killing them.
But Webb wasn't done causing trouble. In August 2010, while in jail awaiting trial, he tried to escape by ramming a police cruiser with a jail transport van. As the case progressed, more details about Webb's past emerged. It turned out he had a history of violence against women. He was eventually charged with another murder, that of Sabrina Vaughn, the girlfriend he'd initially been accused of trying to run over. Her remains were found in 2010, but she'd been missing since 2003. In 2014, he was finally convicted of Bria Runewicz's murder and sentenced to life in prison, without parole for 25 years. Throughout all this, Webb gained a reputation as a troublemaker in custody. He had several incidents of assaulting jail staff and even tried to escape again in 2011. And there you have it all. These courtroom clashes were nothing short of epic. These legal battles will go down in history, from heated arguments to explosive outbursts. Let us know in the comments which one you found the most intense. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling content.